On top of the already crazy domestic situation now, we have a very wild foreign policy situation unfolding with my home country of Poland that is pretty disturbing. This as the warning sirens have been started in Poland, as the situation there definitely doesn't look too good, as I think this meme represents it pretty perfectly, with Poland and Germany on the same side of World War III now.
Hey, look at us. Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
No!
Look at us.
Do not redeem it! That's of course. What are we doing here? There's a crazy, wild situation unfolding right now that deserves a lot of our attention, even though there's so many crazy things happening domestically. We're covering that. We're doing a lot of videos today, and I think this is one of the most important ones to give you a geopolitical update on the saber-rattling and the foreign policy conundrum that is the larger war between Eurasia and the West. Now, this conflict has been brewing and escalating, and we have been warning about it for about 15 years. If you go back on this YouTube channel, you could see us repeatedly warning the escalatory track that we're on, how we need an off-ramp, how we need to stop a lot of this insanity, how this kind of foreign policy Western doctrine that, by the way, Donald Trump looks like he's continuing in this very moment. He's been kind of a little wishy-washy on it, but it looks like he's continuing it. With the latest things that he's done. We'll talk about that and a lot more all here on this independent media broadcast. And if you appreciate these type of perspectives and videos talking about what's really happening with foreign policy, subscribe. Click the notification button, as I think they are more important to pay attention to than ever, especially here in this Kaliningrad type of region that borders Poland and Lithuania. All of this as there are massive war games, massive amounts of military, troop, and drone movements, not just reported in Poland, but also now Romania, as NATO has decided to launch Eastern Sentry, bolstering eastern flank, sending a lot of military hardware and soldiers to Poland after Russian drone incursions. Now, there were a number of dud drones that were specifically being flown by Russia from Belarus into Poland. Now, there's also a long history of border disputes between Poland and Belarus, specifically with the weaponization of migrants that the Russians have activated and said, come on in, guys, we're going to send you straight to Europe. They're going to give you bread and milk. They're going to take care of you. There's going to be a lot of socialism. There's not a lot of socialism in Poland for some reason. I don't know. Those guys were lied to. I talked to one Algerian migrant in Poland that I saw during my last visit there a few weeks ago, and he's like, why am I here? I want to go back. There's no money here. And I'm like, hey, bro. Hey. No socialism in Poland. But Russians have weaponized migrants to go across the Belarus border into Poland. Poland fought back, took care of its border and said, niet, blach, not here, buddy, not here, Vlad. As now we have the NATO General Secretary calling Russia's dud drone incursion reckless and, quote, unacceptable, as military activity is starting to ramp up in response to this Russian drone incursion. And now NATO and Poland are saying, we're going to send our own drones over to Belarus.
Where we will stop him. Because remember, this is not an isolated incident. It's part of a pattern.
On Friday,
a pattern that's been building for a very long time. Now, this kind of buildup on the eastern flank is what a lot of people have seen as inevitable. There's been Poland, Germany, France, the UK, throughout the last few years, all have been saying, we got to be on the war footing. We have to prepare. Hey, general population, get out of Dodge bag. You should have one. I teach people how to make theirs on the best political, on lukeunfiltered.com. Regardless of that, as we have major Polish politicians saying that Poland intercepting these Russian drones, and that they see this as a major act of aggression. They reported that the drones were not loaded with explosives. They were duds. But as Polish politicians and members of the military are saying, they were meant to test us without, quote, starting a war. And this, of course, is good news to Zelensky, that is very happy about this, as now there could be another front to this war that could ease up tensions, as many military analysts are saying Russia is having some significant kind of breakdowns of the Ukrainian front line. Now, that's what some people are assessing. Again, the front line hasn't moved a lot. Throughout the last few years, it's pretty much a very large stalemate. But a lot of military analysts are saying, well, it's just key fighting over this key specific territory. And once this key specific territory falls, the Ukrainians are kind of screwed here. Boom, we have to figure out a way to stop that from happening. And what's the perfect way to stop happening? Opening up another front of war now on the Belarus side. And some people are saying Russia's totally responsible. Other people are saying no, Poland totally is responsible. Poland, again, one of the biggest militaries in Europe, going to be the biggest. One of the rising stars of European economies, growing economy, soon to be a bigger economy than vast majority of European states. And listen, Poland is trendy right now. I was just in Poland. I love Poland. I love my people. I love my heritage. I love my culture. I love my background. But I do see a couple of mistakes that they're making. And to me, history dictates a tale that we should be very cautious of. Now, before talking about that and then detailing what Donald Trump had to say about this, Donald Trump made some statements that were not too reassuring with all of this. Before talking about that and a lot more, I wanted to remind you to check out wearechange.shop. We got a lot of great supplements available to you. The best one, the best seller, the one that I use every single day. I use a lot of these stuff, especially now in recent days, because it's been an extremely heavy week for me. As you can see here, they're right here on my desk. This one's my favorite, right over here. It's empty. You know why it's empty? Because we use it. And I love this stuff, and it's creatine, and I've noticed a significant boost to my brain power and my ability to, of course, process ideas, thoughts, to be able to work harder, longer, as I just saw this random post on social media highlighting. Whenever I have a lady in my life, I'm like, you taking that creatine? You taking that creatine or not? Becky, take that creatine. Like, oh no, it's going to make me fat. Becky! That's a deal breaker. As now we got this post here by The Scientific Facts on Instagram saying women produce 20 to 30% less creatine naturally than men. And studies show creatine supplementation in women can help regulate hormones, improve mood, relieve depression, and boost cognitive function. Okay? All right, boys. Cheat sheets are there. You just got to follow them. We got great creatine from Germany available to you on wearechange.shop. A 2-month supply for just $53. If you're not getting it, what are you doing? What are you doing? I can't recommend this enough. I love this stuff. I use this stuff. I give it to my mom. I give it to my special woman in my life. And I cannot recommend it enough. So, wearechange.shop. Get yourself some creatine, as of course we're all going to need it. Situation's going to crazy. It's only going to get crazier. It's only going to get more and more wild, more and more unpredictable, as now we're getting videos from Operation Eastern Sentry. As the Polish president, who's a right-winger, just approved NATO troop deployment on Polish soil. This is not a drill. As Poland has announced, this is, quote, peacekeeping. Quote, you messed with Poland, you poked the alliance. And, of course, there have been NATO Article 4 that officially has been claimed here. That's the one that goes before Article number 5, which, of course, means an alliance. And just like, you look at Europe, it's like the story of alliances that caused great havoc and war and destruction. That is not good. Now, Poland, specifically when these drones came over their airspace, Poland shut them down. Now we have this Eastern century. Now we have a lot of warplanes, missile systems, and naval assets that are already in Poland that the Russians are going to see as a major threat against them. As 40,000 Polish troops have been mobilized near Belarus and Kaliningrad for Iron Gate, as Russia and Belarus just deployed their own 40,000 troops for war games in those specific regions. Now, Poland here is trying to send a message. How will that message be received here? I think a lot of this is just absolutely crazy, especially with all the heightened tensions here. There's a boost in troop presence, but again, all of this is happening during war games, a lot of war games, a lot of military drills that the Russians are doing. Historically, war games and military drills usually are preludes towards bigger military aggressive actions, and many times they're used as covers for those military actions. This is why China does so many military drills, specifically near Taiwan as well here. So now the Polish president also signed a classified decree saying that these NATO troops will have a permanent presence in Poland. And right now they are doing everything they can to show Russia, like, hey, you fly more drones, we're going to shoot them down. And now Poland and NATO are flying their own drones inside of Belarusian and Russian airspace. Now, who did it first? And again, who cares? Just stop this madness. Stop this insanity. As U.S. military observers were paying a special surprise visit to Belarus to observe these war games with Russia, as this is clearly a breakdown of communication that's happening between Washington, Russia, and Belarus. Now, tens of thousands of troops just being kind of readied and prepared here highlights a powder keg-like situation that could explode and unfold in any moment, in any time. Now, these are tensions that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, who cares? These tensions have been growing for a very long time. A lot of the assessment now is, yeah, there's going to be a war. It's just a matter of when, not if. Now, if the Russians are assessing that, and the Poles and NATO are assessing that, they're like, okay, it's going to happen. We got to take action now. And that to me is just idiotic, insane, stupid thinking. No one wins. No one wins with this, as we're also getting reports of Russian forces deploying nuclear-capable Iskander-M tactical ballistic missiles in Kaliningrad, allegedly. Now, we don't know if this is real, if it's fake. There's a lot of AI videos out there. There's a lot of posturing. There's a lot of saber rattling. Who's telling the truth here? I do not know. But let's be honest with ourselves here. There's some serious missile deployments, as Poland has been asking the U.S. government for nuclear weapons. Poland is saying, hey, give us your nuclear weapons. Well, place them here on this border. We need a deterrent here. And there's been a long track record of escalatory actions between Belarus, Russia, and Poland. And historically, Poland always gets invaded. That's the truth of it. That's why there's no love lost between Poland and Russia and the Soviet Union and the Soviet bloc. And there's a lot of tumultuous, crazy history there that looks like it's about to repeat here. Now, Belarus and Russia, they're showing off their firepower, and they're saying, you know what, you want to answer back? We're your firepower, or we're going to answer back with our own firepower. Look how many troops, look how much military hardware we have here. As it's pretty clear here. I've got a military training. They're just kind of preparing here for the worst of the worst here, especially with now new tactics, new maneuvers, new type of hardware. Listen, this is one thing that Poland's doing, which I'm like, what are you doing, guys? They're buying a bunch of tanks. I'm like, tanks are just literally nice drone targets that get taken out with these drones that cost a couple $100, $1,000, $10,000 the most for the more advanced type of missile drone-like operated systems here that are now being run with artificial intelligence. As listen, if we're going to be modernizing the military, you don't buy tanks, you buy drones. Okay? Now, Poland's forest minister is suggesting that NATO states should consider now imposing a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Now, if they implement a no-fly zone, that essentially means they're involved in the what? This is how they sell it to you. This is how they're emboldened now. No-fly zone. Yeah, it sounds great. No, it means world war. No-fly zone means world war. That's what we need to understand here. No-fly zone means we're actively declaring war on Russia. That's what it means. But it sounds nice on paper. No, NATO should impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine. You might as well say NATO might drag us into world war that could blow us up with nuclear weapons many times over. What a great idea! And they're like, no, we need to protect Poland from Russia. We need to implement this no-fly zone. No-fly zone essentially means NATO sends in all their military hardware, all of their anti-defense, missile defense systems, and their aircraft, and then they have air control over the region. Russia's flying something, boom, taken down. So they're calling for NATO, Poland, the United States, to shoot down Russian aircraft over a war zone where already Ukrainian NATO-linked aircraft is flying, fighting the Russians, which clearly they just mean, let's get involved in this war and let's give Ukraine air superiority over this region. The fact that they're calling for world war should be clear, but it's not. It's done in very underhanded type of ways here. Now, there's discussions now. Poland may shoot drones over Ukraine. This is the no-fly zone. This is the argument that they're making. This is according now to the Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs. Listen, this escalatory track is dangerous. It is insane, and it is crazy. As Donald Trump is responding to all of this, and he's saying, well, we'll just impose additional sanctions on Russia. Why? You already have a lot of the sanctions on Russia. What is that going to do?
President posting the purchase of Russian oil by some has been shocking. It greatly weakens your negotiating position and bargaining power over Russia. Anyway, I'm ready to go when you are. Just say when. But while Trump has made these threats before, he's never followed through.
There's very little chance that...
Yeah. Again, he has followed through on some of them, especially with the threats against India, the threats not being made against China, which is also a major kind of purchaser of oil here, is pretty interesting. Now, the president was on Fox and Friends. He recently said this.
Asked whether his patience with Putin is running out.
Yeah, it's sort of running out and running out fast, but it does take two to tango. It's amazing. When Putin wants to do it, Zelensky didn't. When Zelensky wanted to do it, Putin did. Now Zelensky wants to, and Putin is a question mark.
And President Trump heads to London this week, where UK leaders are expected to press him on this issue.
Yeah. And again, Europe, UK, NATO, all of this is happening. As a lot of people are saying, there's going to be major breakthroughs in this war right now. As some people are saying, the Russians are planning a major kind of fall offensive. Now, will that fall offensive kind of manifest and actually do something here? Is, of course, now the calculations here are really kind of thought out here, because, like, what's the point? Unless Russia and Europe are getting assessments saying, look, we got to get it over it. We got to pull the Band-Aid fast, because the longer we wait, the more the Russian war machine activates, the more the Russian population activates, the more recruits that they have. And listen, Russia is recruiting a crap ton of people. The vast majority of them are not seeing war, but they're just there as their reservists. They're just waiting. Russia has like 4 lines of military involvement with this conflict, right? There's multiple groups, multiple battalions that are replacing other battalions on the front lines, and there's multiple redeployments. So vast majority of the Russians are dealing with a war economy, our war footing, as a lot of people are saying that the Russians now are seeing Europe not on that same war footing, but getting there. And that potentially, strategically, it might be more advantageous for them to attack and to surprise and to take out all of Europe, which is kind of crazy, which is kind of insane, before they get on their war footing. Now, This is also a war of attrition. If you look at what's happening to Ukraine, it's not good. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the manufacturing capabilities that the Russians have that have been shown to build munitions faster, quicker, cheaper. They're not as precise, but they're readily more available than the ones that are provided by NATO. Now, you look at all this, you look at all the assessments, where is this headed? Disaster. This is insane, this is stupid. If you agree, share this. I think a lot of European leaders and Russian leaders need some creatine because they were not thinking this one through, as there's mutually assured destruction and insanity here that is stupid, that they would have probably seen if they're taking enough creatine. Cognitive benefits of it are amazing. I love it. You might too. What a weird way to sell creatine to the threats of global mutually assured destruction. It won't matter. Anyway, I'm being facetious. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.